Welcome to another edition of Between the Posts. Round 12 has just been played. Of course, I'm TJ, your host, joined by our Div 5 expert. Welcome, Cosmai.
Hello, TJ. Great to be here, everyone. Looking forward to a great show.
Vincenzo, I love having you on. You're a man who's been around the leagues many years like myself, so your knowledge is fantastic. You're also a man who gets out and about in the Division 1 games each week with commentary. Understand you went out yesterday. Give us just what's the vibe out in Division 1 and the games you're commentating?
I'm really impressed this year. I think the standard has improved overall. I have done most of the teams. Still got a couple that I'm yet to be rostered for, so looking forward to that in the last third of the season. But the standard's been really improved and the closeness of the competition is just fantastic this year. You rock up to every game and life's a bit like a box of chocolates.
It is. And an example of that is Spock leading Shock at half-time yesterday. That's 10th and 2nd. So, yes, exciting stuff. But you are our Division 5 expert, mate, and that's why we've got you on. And the Div 5 people, they're craving a bit of Cosmai. What's the gist of what we're going to be going through?
2/3 of the way through the season now, my friends. So we'll take a look at the separation in the areas of the ladder that has opened up over the first 2/3. We're also going to look at a couple of key games from yesterday that occurred, just some results there, and our most consistent players. So some of the players we probably think will figure highly in the medal, as well as the leading goal kickers, of course.
Mate, of course, it's a big week on Between the Posts. Let's just go through what segments have we got this week, please, mate.
Okay, so Div 1 report by your good self, of course. Always look forward to the Div 1 report. Beck's going to do her Div 1 women's report, of course, as well. And the Farmers League Coach of the Week is always a favourite, mainly because of the prize.
Yes, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful drop, that. Of course, you'll be doing the Division 5, our goals and marks of the week, which proves to be ever popular. And what caught our eye? That's why we have a look around the 7 divisions at all the good stuff happening. There's all that and so much more. Please keep joining us for Between the Posts. TJ here, and it's Div 1 wrap time, and a significant one because we're now 2/3 of the way into the season with round 12 in the books. And we're, of course, going to start, as we always do, with our stream team game. Glenunga and Port District at Webb Oval. I said possibly, much to the chagrin of Sacred Heart fans, I think this might have been a grand final preview, and it turned out that way. It was an absolute belter. It was the Rams 12-7-79, holding off a fast-finishing Port District's 11-9-75. For the Rams, it was Bo Schwartz, Harry Prosser and Michael McMahon, all with 3 goals, whilst Batty kicked 4 for Port District. And that man we're going to look at the moment is number 15 from Glenunga, potty mouth himself, Harry Prosser. Got a bit excited in the post-match interview, much to the chagrin of his father, Stephen, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars he spent on his Mercedes college education, but Harry was a star. If you have a look at one of his goals as well, he actually gives away the goals by a half a width of the goals, and the breeze just takes it beautifully. A great game from Big Hazza. Looking at some of the commentators' notes, interesting that these two teams played on Anzac Day. It was 44-point wins to the Rams. This time, Port District really starting to unravel that Rams web and just getting very close. But it was the Rams leading by 19 at both quarter and half time, 24 at three-quarter time. The fast-finishing Port Districts kicking 3-3 to no score from Glenunga in the last quarter. They even had a forward foray in the last 30 seconds, but Zach Smith, playing in front of his opponent, was able to take a mark and curtail the forward foray, holding on to a great victory. Look, there's obviously a lot of award winners, so we'll just get right into them, but we're going to start with a little bit of footage, and I want to get his name right because he deserves it. Thomas Kalovasidis, it's a pretty big name. Have a look at the boy in the pink boots, the courage, undefinable courage here, backing in and just taking a massive hit.
Well, at the moment, Port District, the accurate one, 3 straight goals. Glenunga, the inaccurate, 2 goals. 3! Oh, holy...
Oh, jeez! I've got him.
Well done, young Thomas, I'm going to say. He was, of course, our best team player. Our magic moment, neomorph mouthguard for the play of the day. awarded by Phil Herden, went to the footy whiz kid, Fletcher Wiseman. And the last one was the Belgravia Best on Ground New Balance voucher, was that man, Harry Prosser, with that interesting post-match interview. Some of the better players that didn't get awards or make the votes for Port were Matty Rose and Louis Sharrod. Louis just putting together a nice body of work at the moment, whilst for Glenunga, Linky Bennett always does the hard things for Glenunga, and Michael McMahon. The votes themselves, though, it was one vote to that man, Charlie Pridham. He is having an absolutely tremendous season. Team of the half year, be very surprised if he doesn't make team of the full year the way he's going. Harry Prosser with the 2, and Scott Lysette was Port's best player and was actually awarded the 3 votes for his effort. Very rare I have the time. I'm a busy man. I actually went and watched this game after I finished all my duties yesterday this morning. Got up early and watched it. And I heard probably the greatest quote I've heard from a commentator post-match from the great Phil Herden. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Nathan Grommer will really enjoy that, as it exposes some of Glenunga's weaknesses and ensures they avoid complacency. In a nutshell, Phil, you've summarised up everything that is Nathan Grommer. I always just use the phrase that he uses, don't drink your own bathwater. He never lets teams get ahead of themselves. And he'll look at this as, even though they won, a big wake-up call to how close they were to going down. And, of course, they're going to meet Port again this year at some stage, you'd suggest. Absolutely nailed it there, Phil. Look, a really, really good game. Enjoyable. I'd suggest go back. Over 1,000 people have watched it on the stream already, especially that last quarter. It's exciting. Some of the names rolling around in this game. Div 1 footy is alive and well. Congratulations to the Rams, 12-0. Our next one was at Pertaringa. Teachery Gully 8-13-61. PNU 11-9-75. A 14-point win there to the Falcons. It's number 9, Jack Hodges from the Falcons we're going to have a look at. He kicked 4 snags, whilst his mate Joseph Christansig kicked 3 himself. For Teachery Gully, what an outstanding effort by Brody Latham, kicking 5 out of 8. PNU, their ball use in the first half was outstanding. It allowed them to take a 32-point halftime lead and control the game. The win was a huge factor, and it was really interesting to note that it was the goal kicking of Payneham at the away ground that actually set them apart from Teachery Gully. Teachery Gully wasting a lot of opportunities, having more scoring shots. So, yeah, good ball usage there by PNU. And a big shout out to Louis McKenna, his first time on commentary, on debut, and also sending me notes that were legible. I get 2 or 3 pages on each game sent to me. Well done, Louis, great job. Better players for PNU that didn't make the votes. Dobson and Spence continuing a good year, whilst the Teachery Gully tape and that man, Big Ticky Penny, in the club's best players. Interesting to note as well that they certainly did challenge Teachery Gully. They came back to PNU, got within 2 points, but PNU were able to steady. Jack Hodges, the man that helped them get them over the line by the 14 points. The votes now, this man had 30-plus touches, 1 vote to Chris Olsen. He was everywhere. 2 votes to Brody Latham. Great game for the Gullies. And best on ground, Jack Hodges. A huge win for Payneham. They stay in the 5, and it might be time to start taking them very, very seriously. Our next game was the college battle between Sacred Heart and St. Peter's at Sacred Heart. It was the Shockers 9-14-68 taking care of St. Peter's 5-8-38. For Sacred Heart, it was Captain Clayton Simons with 2 goals along with Mel Corliff, whilst all single goal kickers for Spock. First thing we're going to have a look at is a real highlight. It came in the 4th quarter. It's our Jag Meatworks snag of the day. It was Will McAuliffe from Sacred Heart.
That Karkuro gets it. Gee, had a player free out here screaming for it too. They get the balls. This
Archibald's looking dangerous
one.
again. Oh, a bit of candy from Mooski there.
There it is. Lights up the crowd.
It was a very even game in the first half. St. Peter's really took it up to Sacred Heart, but eventually that quality got a hold of Spocky. And in the second half, it was Sacred Heart, 6 goals, 8 to just 1 goal, 2. They were far too good, despite being down at 6 points at half time. Better players who didn't appear in the votes for Spocky, it was Benny Belperio and Jack Higgins. Jack Higgins is a super footballer, whilst for Shock, Tommy McDermott and Brinkworth were both very good. But let's have a look at the votes. It is 1 vote, the Adonis, Johnny Vrodas. 2 votes to Bradley Noble from Sacred Heart. And that man for the 2nd week in a row, best on ground, number 4, Seb Kerrish. Great win there for Shocks. They just keep on keeping on. And one day maybe I might even tip them to make the grand final. All right, game number 4. This was a big one. Now, last week, my whole vernacular was Broadies will win because they have to win. Really not a lot of logic about that. It's borderline stupid, but I called it, and Broadies did. They did what they had to do. They took care of PAC. PAC 9-10, Broadies 12-14. I had a little bet with one of the Div 1 coaches on this one as well. Glad to see I got the chocolates. And it's finally happened. The man, the myth, the bosser. Number 7, Johnny Boris, sprung to life with 5 majors and was the absolute standout player on the day. Well done to the man they used to call Captain Coldy. For PAC, the chief destroyer was Tyson Brazel with 4 goals of his own. Look, obviously, all around Adelaide yesterday, it was windy, and that affected probably some of the goal scoring and some of the skills. There was lots of lead changes, but ultimately, Broadview flicked the switch in the second half, put the foot on the throat, and kicked 8 goals 8 to 4 goals 3. Hard to do away from home, so they've done very, very well there. Coach should be super happy with that. It was the Broadview midfield pace that seemed to set them apart. PAC was a very good midfield, but some of those sharp boys in Hill, Jackson, these types, really set it alight in the second half. Better players for Broadies that didn't make the votes were indeed Tyron Hill and the big rig, Kobe Russell, whilst the PAC, Clark, Trinorden and Jolly all amongst the best. In the votes though, and they're all Broadie players, 1 vote for the first time this year, congratulations to Reece Mooney, 2 votes to Cooper O'Leary, another one of those pacey midfielders, and 3 votes to the man mountain, former Centurion goal kicker, the Boz, Johnny Boris. Our last one, and again, they're there, Golden Grove. We all thought they'd be there all year. It's taken around 12, but they have arrived in the 5, and that rhymes. Golden Grove 14-10-94, Brighton 10-16-76 at Harpers Field. The man that my good friend Adam Jeffries calls the Div 1 Dusty, Josh Glenn, number 5 for Golden Grove, was best on ground and best on ground by a street. He was that because he kicked 5 goals out of 14 from Golden Grove and plenty of midfield time, plenty of possessions. For Brighton, it was 4 goals to Jake Tarker. And this is the one where what we probably expected from Golden Grove all year, they haven't been able to do it because Div 1 is such a tough competition, but they came out and went bang. It was 5 goals won to 4 points in the first quarter. They took their chances and they, through those sublimely skilled footballers, were able to get that break on the opposition that they held them off all day. It was Golden Grove by 27, 23 and 27. Ultimately winning by 18 points. And Brighton came in the last quarter. They kicked 4 goals 5, 9 scoring shots. They certainly continue to have a crack. And they're playing some pretty good, consistent football, Brighton. But at this stage, it was the early football from Golden Grove and Josh Glenn in particular that set the game alight. A shout out to Nick Preston, who didn't get the votes, but did a great job on Will Rivers. And one of the notes from the commentators, and you don't get this one, you just don't hear this one very often, so I'm going to give him a shout out. The umpiring was excellent on the day. I'm not sure if both teams agree, but the commentator, from his unbiased view, thought the umpires were great. So well done to the umpires who generally only cop abuse. For Golden Grove, better players not in the votes were Jake Pittman and Lewis Johnson, a couple of handy ones there, whilst for Brighton, Tarker and Loy were outstanding. The votes now, 1 vote to the Sex Panther, Cam Shenton, 2 votes to Kane Blades, and Josh Glenn, that man, was best on ground. Our Player of the Year. Now we are 2/3 of the way into the Player of the Year. I think we're going to be announcing what the prize is very, very soon. And of course, this does conclude at round 18. And we have a top 5. Courtesy of his best on ground display, Scott Lysette comes in at 5th with 10 votes. Seb Kerrish, another best on ground display, takes him to 11 votes. 2 players tied for second are Matty Nunn from Payneham and Joey Haynes from the Dizzies, whilst that man, Abe Davis, looking for back-to-back awards, sits atop with 15 votes. Speaking of things that sit atop, let's look at Glenunga and the ladder. Glenunga at 12-0. It's hard to know where that first loss will come. Do they need to have a loss? I've never really subscribed to that theory, but we'll certainly see. Sacred Heart doing absolutely nothing wrong, sitting second, 10-2. And it's fair to say now, unless something calamitous happens at the club, like the school burns down, they are going to finish second and have a home final in week 1. Who will they play? Probably Port Districts, who sit still in 3rd spot despite the loss. Whilst they're coming now, the Falcons have moved clear in 4th, a game clear, 6-6, but the pack behind them is still very hungry. Golden Grove in on 5-7, Broadies 5-7, PAC 5-7. That superior percentage, and it is 4% clear of the others of Golden Grove, I think is going to be huge come round 18. Tea Tree Gully dropped all the way back down to 8th now, with fears potentially of relegation, but still hopes of finals. Brighton and Shock 3-9. Well, they're not out of it yet, and they're still playing some pretty good football. You know, you look at the way Brighton finished the game yesterday, and the fact that Spock can be leading at half time against Shock. It is a great, great competition, and the ladder suggests that. Probably speaks for itself. Looking at next week's games, again, there are no games this week coming. I'm taking a holiday. Okay, but what we are doing, we are streaming all Division 2 games this week. You can get that on our Adelaide Footy League Facebook page, so you'll be able to watch all of the games, all those great teams, Salisbury North, Athelston, Ross Trevor, whoever you love, Foss Camden, they're all there. They're all going to be on the stream. But in 2 weeks' time, we'll just have a quick look at those games in Division 1 for round 13. Obviously, we have a break in Division 1, so we can finish a week later. It's Glenunga and Tea Tree Gully at Webb. Glenunga to win after a break reasonably comfortably, I'd suggest. Port and PAC at Largs, a replay of the 2022 grand final. I think Port have found their stride just a little bit. The last month has been consistent, and they'll win and win well. Broadies in Golden Grove. If I had a coin, I'd toss it because I wouldn't have a clue. I'll take Golden Grove because they're in the 5 and I'm sure they want to stay there. Brighton and Sacred Heart at Brighton. Of course, the 2-minute drive. Hopefully it doesn't fatigue Brighton shock too much, but they will get the chocolates. And Spockies versus PNU at Caterer. Well, it's funny enough, that's 4th versus 10th, but this one could go either way. I'll take Payneham because if you don't win, the pack's coming for you. Thanks for watching the Division 1 report. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the exciting final third of the season.
Alright, well you know what time it is. It is time to talk about women's footy with the Division 1 Women's Wrap. Now, we finished the split round of round 11 this week, which featured wins last weekend to Golden Grove and Morphettville Park. So this weekend we entered the final game between Payneham and Broadview. And when I tell you it was worth the wait, it was, because Broadview, they've come and taken it up to Payneham and got a 4-point win at Payneham. I mean, maybe I should have seen this coming, as Broadview only lost by 5 points to Payneham back in round 4. But I absolutely did not see it coming, considering the form that Payneham have been in, and they've looked pretty strong going into the last few rounds and heading up to finals. But let's have a look at the score. Broadview 3-3-21 defeated Payneham 2-5-17. 2-5 to Payneham. You know what I'm going to say. TJ would be disappointed if I didn't bring it up. 2 goals, 5. Bad kicking. Is it bad footy? Probably today it was, because 7 scoring shots to 6. That really could have been the difference there for Payneham. But absolutely spirited win by the Broadview Tigers. I know that they will be so proud of this one. And if we have a look a bit deeper into the scoreboard, Broadview did lead at every change. And the last quarter would have been a heart stopper for both coaches, because Broadview went scoreless while Payneham went on to put on 1 goal to. The intensity in that Payneham forward 50, it would have been crazy. And the Broadview defenders, wowee, they've held up pretty well to hold on for the win there. Now, where did the goals come from in this game? Well, for Broadview, it came from those 3 goals, and they split them nice and evenly between Liana Antonelli, Remy Grant and Zara Malloy. Now, their best on ground was Zara Malloy as well, so she was obviously just running around, seeing plenty of the ball and finishing it off with a goal. For Payneham, their goals came from Letitia Ackland and Rachel Carlo. Their best on was Jess Meachin, good friend of the show. Now, for Broadview, that was their 4th win of the season, and it really keeps them in touch there with 4th spot on the ladder. And it's going to be all that more important, this win, coming into finals. They've got a pretty strong percentage as well. Now, they've really done Henley a favour as well, keeping Payneham a little bit further behind them on the ladder in 2nd. And the ladder is really heating up in Div 1. The race for 4th spot is so on. Broadview, Morphettville Park, Golden Grove, all on 4 wins. It is going to be an absolutely crazy run home in the next few weeks. Now, the women's seasons are wrapping up in kind of the next few weeks a little bit earlier than the men's, so it is really starting to intensify in all divisions, and especially in Div 1. All of these games are going to mean so much coming up in the next few weeks. And the fixture, well, it's going to get spicy in the next few weeks, because next weekend, Broadview and Morpheville Park facing off at Broadview. So like I said, two of those teams that are really battling it out for that fourth position. And then a massive, massive clash between Henley and Payneham. That is your top two clash, and I think this is going to say a lot about where both teams are at. Now, Henley, they're coming off a couple of weeks off due to this split round fixture and having the bye, but I think they would have been really intensely watching that clash between Broadview and Payneham on the weekend and really thinking that maybe they can get the job done here, but that is absolutely going to be one to watch. Now, Smosh and Golden Grove are going to be facing off, and really for Golden Grove, like I said, they're also in that race for fourth spot. They have just got to get that win done against Smosh. Goodwood, well, they're going to have the bye in the next round for the Division 1 women's. So it's all just heating up in Division 1. I'm very excited. What a season that we are having. Now, looking around at a couple of the other divisions in women's footy, because you know I like to keep my eye on what's going on. Well, in Division 6, Marion, well, they're continuing their undefeated run. They are firmly at the top of the table in Division 6, a 38-point win over Ingle Farm. Also in Division 6 over the weekend, Salisbury North had a really strong 43-point win over Smithfield, and they move into second position on the ladder. So lots going on in Division 6, and definitely looking forward to what happens come finals. I will be getting out there to those grand finals. Now, in Division 3, ladder leaders Brighton had a 49-point win over Anglevale, while second place Pulteney had a 75-point win over Pembroke. Now, why is this important, Beck? You're just talking about these big wins. Well, these two teams are facing off next week in Division 3. So a massive encounter at Brighton between Brighton and Pulteney. So that's going to be huge. Could this be a little bit of a grand final preview? Who knows? Because like I said, anything could happen in the next few weeks. But the competition is heating up across all grades. Like I said, there is only a few rounds left in a lot of these women's competitions as we wrap things up a little bit sooner than the men's. And I am really excited about what's going to happen coming into this final series, and we'll be out there at the grand finals seeing what is going on. Well, that's it for this week's Division 1 Women's Wrap and what's going on around women's footy across the Adelaide Footy League. Come back here next time for all of your women's footy news.
Time for our Farmers League Coach of the Week, and this week we stop in Division 3, and a man who probably is overdue for this award is Damon Head from the Henley Football Club. He's taken Henley to 12 consecutive victories in a row. He's done a tremendous job with his existing list and some great new recruits. On the weekend they were challenged by Hope Valley and another 53-point win to the Sharks. So he is indeed our Farmers League Coach of the Week. Back to Between the Posts. It's that time, Div 5 fans. It's time to introduce the man who, as a child, had the fiercest left-handed golfing drive I'd ever seen. That man, Vince Cosmai.
No, not quite. But anyway, Div 5, here we are, 2/3 of the way through the season. So let's start with the ladder. Ladder, 4 distinct brackets of teams in the ladder. We've got our 2 pace setters in Colonel Light Gardens and Mitcham, who have only both had the one loss. We'll get on to a bit more about that later. We're in the chasing pack led by Marion and Greenacres, who are equal on points as well at 8 and 4.
The promoted teams, which
Fighting for a double chance. So amazing effort from both of those. 4 sides of logjam separated by 1 win. Pulteney in the box seat at the moment with a bit of percentage and a game over the other 3 in Portland, Woodville South and Trinity, and Blackfriars and West Croydon will be starting their planning for 2025.
It's not a bad comp though, is it, mate? Because it was just last week in what caught my eye. Trinity knocked off Greenacres, so it might not be all said and done. I know I looked at the ladder this morning. I thought top 5 might be set. Is that too big a call?
No. Pulteney again, important result for Pulteney, so it keeps them ahead of that chasing pack. Having that game plus the percentage is basically equivalent to 2 games.
4%, this time of year,
Yep. So that will hold them in good stead. Their run home is a bit mixed, so they should be okay. And I would think that they sneak into 5th, which is a good effort for them.
Yeah.
So some of the players. Let's look at some of the players so far. Most consistent players and some very common names. Led by 5 players, been in the best 9 times. Led by Jake Need, of course, who's at Portland. Kai Dean at Colonel Light Gardens. Matthew Brincat at Blackfriars. In fact, 2 Blackfriars players, best named. 9 times Matthew Brincat and Joshua Grantham and Isaac Allard, of course, from Greenacres.
Here is an interesting stat for your stiff shizzle list. Of those top 5, 2 of those boys, Kai Dean, 9 games out of 12 for Colonel Light. Matty Brincat, 9 games out of 12. Both mad wrestling fans. I'm not sure if there's anything in that, but there you go. Vince?
That's one for the ages. I didn't expect that to come out.
No, there you go.
Well done, and I must admit, so am I. So there you go. Don't mind a little bit of light-hearted entertainment. So, goal kickers. Sorry, I should have turned the page. Goal kickers. Joel Aish, former player at Pulteney, went away for a little while back, and on 52 at the moment. Maxwell Smythe from Mitcham, 49.
Agent 86. That was Maxwell Smart, wasn't it?
That was smart, very close. Terence Malera, 41 from Portland. Patrick O'Day from Marion, 40. And Nicholas Patterson from Colonel Light Gardens, 38. Matthew Gibson from Greenacres, 37. So each team there of the 6 with a leading goal kicker.
Yeah, no. Good stuff, and probably none of them going to make the century, but Joel Aish on 52, that's a pretty outstanding year, and he might be one of the reasons why I think the top 5 might be locked, because come those later months in August when it warms up, good set of dukes on the blue. Indeed,
he does. A couple of key results from yesterday. Let's talk about those. So we mentioned Pulteney earlier, a big win for them against Greenacres. So Greenacres probably dropping, still equal on points, but just dropping out of the double chance spot with that game yesterday. So 8-point win at Greenacres by Pulteney, so good effort by them.
It is.
And the other big result was the game between the 2 sides, one undefeated, no longer, and one now equal top, and that being Colonel Light Gardens and Mitcham. Mitcham 20-point winners. Now, interestingly enough, these 2 sides at 11 and 1. Their only loss has been at home to the other side.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so amazing. Many weeks ago, Colonel Light Gardens got the chocolates by a few points, and then Mitcham have turned it around on them and having a fantastic season, let it be said.
Yeah, so let's get on to Mitcham, mate. I haven't given them much this year. It's been all about Marion and Greenacres coming up, and then Colonel Light Gardens were surprisingly undefeated. But Mitcham have just gone along 11 and 1. I've gone, well, why are they so good? I've gone online last night and had a good look, and had a look at their list, and you see some pretty good players in there. So Nick Collins is taking all before him. There's a couple of boys there, Curtis Stringer and Harry Pride. Now, Harry Pride in particular, I had the pleasure of coaching these 2 boys in 2013. They're former state under-18 Gaelic players. They played at PNU. Harry Pride's so he was 2013, he was an 18-year-old premiership player for Payne. I think he won a Div 3 and a Div 2 premiership. So he'd only be 28, 29, really in the prime of their career. Younger brother, Ollie Pride, he goes all right. Josh Gray, it's a really strong list that I think can hold up. And I honestly think, and I apologise, I've underestimated the Hawks.
Well, they actually weren't that bad last year. So I was expecting them to certainly have the opportunity to bounce back. They were obviously a lot more did go down, but a lot more competitive than Portland were last year. And credit to Portland too. I was expecting them maybe to be in danger maybe going back to back.
Relegation,
They've actually done pretty well and consolidated as well. So a couple of key patches, notable matches to come. Just one I've got here, which is on next week, which is Marion and Greenacres. Now, Greenacres just a little bit struggling through this middle part.
It's just speed wobble almost, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe Marion at home, you'd probably think that if they get the points there, they will maybe sew up that double chance with the opportunity then with 5 to go, having a game similar to Pulteney, a game plus percentage ahead of the team that's chasing them.
Of all the grounds in Division 5 to watch a game of footy, they're all great, don't get me wrong. Marion is a great game.
Oh, fantastic facility, agreed.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
Not just because I used to look after that club, but that is a great football club.
It is fantastic. So, of course, Division 5 brought to us by Wakefield Sports Clinic, sports doctors, orthopaedic surgeons, physiotherapists, podiatrists, exercise physiologists, sports physiologists, dietitians, remedial massage therapists. Now, up until I stopped having a kick just before COVID, I needed every one of those services.
You weren't still playing a few years ago.
I needed every one of those services, and just 4 years later, and I'm not playing anymore, and I need every one of those services. So get on down to see Wakefield Sports Clinic. They'll be more than happy to look after you.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out as well, I know they're battling and they're not going to get much time. West Croydon 0-12. Had a look. Great to see their reserves have had 6 wins this year. So we don't talk about the reserves much, I know, but when you're having a tough year like that, and I've been part of those types of years, well done to the boys who are fronting up in the B grade for West Croydon and getting the job done.
Yeah, it just probably proves that they're just missing a little bit of top end talent, but they've got a bit of evenness there probably in that second tier. I mean, last year they were, and I mentioned it, I think it was round 5, I think might have been that after I came on last time, I mentioned that they were bottom at that time last year and had a run, did a bit of recruiting to get in before the deadline on June 30, did a bit of recruiting, got themselves up and into the 5, but unfortunately they haven't been able to replicate that this year.
Spot on.
Yeah. So I think, look, the last few weeks, probably a couple of things that I'll mention. I'm actually looking at Marion when it comes to our what caught my eye. So I'll leave that for there. What's coming up in Div 5? Well, we're probably expecting that, you're right, there's a little bit of jostling. Top spot, if either of those teams slip up, especially Colonel Gardens with a bit of percentage, they'll drop down, and that having that top spot's going to be a little bit of an advantage with a bit of rest in the finals. The double chance still up for grabs, although Greenacres probably just waning a little bit, but certainly they're going to feature in September. And fantastic story again, let's say it, for Greenacres. And then can anyone take Pulteney out of an elimination final berth?
Well, time will tell. I look at Portland and I go, their top end is certainly very good. When I see names like Terry Malera and Jake Need, it's a matter of can the bottom 6 within the group, with no big disrespect with them, every group has a bottom 6. If they can just find a way, you never know.
No, we don't. And look forward to it. So, folks, 6 rounds to go. We're 2/3 of the way there. Division 5, we love Division 5.
Thank you very much. It's been the Division 5 wrap with the great man, our expert, Vince, Cosmai and myself. Stay with us for more Between the Posts.
Get a quick and easy low-rate car loan from Police Credit Union today.
Adelaide Footy League fans, this winter might be cold, but some of these are red hot. Let's have a look at the goals and marks of the week.
Backwards, Boras goes backwards again with a quick snap away, beautifully kicked. The spinning of that one was a bit like a cricket spinner there.
For it too. They get the balls. This
Archman's looking dangerous
one.
again. A bit of candy from Mooski there.
There it is. Lights up the crowd.
the opposite ground for where we are. Got confused with, oh, big fly.
Because they were under better pressure. There's a big fly and it's a grab. I reckon that might be your near. It's your choice, Lockie, but I reckon that's right up there for the near.
Back to Between the Posts. It's that segment again when we test Hugo's abilities and we take a look around the entire league in what caught our eye. I think it was outstanding. All right, Vince. I've got a theme in mind, but I'm going to start in Division 1 where I've tried to take the game of the round featuring the highest placed team, if that makes sense. It will make sense. So generally who top played because they were challenged this week. But before I do that, I just want to give a shout out to Sam Abel from the Glenunga Footy Club. 250 games, an outstanding servant, has played in all 7 divisions for Glenunga. Speaks to the volume of the man's commitment. Currently the B grade coach doing great things and playing Bs and As. So well done to Sammy Abel. You are a star. Good job there. All right, Vince, so I'll go first, and it will make sense what I'm doing as we progress, but it was top place Glenunga hosting third place Port to remain undefeated, and they did. They narrowly won by 4 points with multiple goals from Bo Schwartz, Harry Prosser, and Michael McMahon, all kicking 3 in a great game of footy.
Well, what caught my eye when I was checking the ladder, and obviously the results yesterday, was the continued logjam in Division 1. It just fascinates me from week to week. We talked about how the competition this year, how even it is from 3rd to 10th. It's 3.5 games, I think.
Yep.
3rd to 10th.
Correct.
And you just rock up to basically any match and you just don't know what you're going to get. It's so fascinating. It just makes calling even more fun.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Yep.
What have you got for Division 2, Two Dogs?
Well, Division 2 is probably not the best report, but poor old Towns yesterday didn't manage to raise 2 flags. So
no goals.
No goals for Towns yesterday.
Trust me, I know how they feel.
Yeah. No, we've all played in those, but it's interesting because I'll take you back very quickly to an interview that Tony and I did a couple of years ago with their coach at the time, and they had a very young list, and maybe they've probably somewhat overachieved to get up to where they are, and it's just going to be a slight step back, but a reset, and get some more games into the young kids.
Yeah, take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward sometimes. So the next game, again, looking at the highest placed game of the round, this is a big one because it's 3rd place Athelston hosting 6th place Goodwood at Max Amber. And I went past Max Amber last week, I think on Tuesday, and that ground is in pristine condition. So whoever's looking after Max Amber, you deserve a medal. It's the best oval surface I've seen this time of year. But didn't help the Raggies, 5 goals 11. Goodwood Saints have awoken finally. We've been waiting for it all year. 9 goals 8 on the back of a best on ground display from Ariane Serene.
Yeah, so for me, Seaton Ramblers clinging to 5th spot.
Div 3, of course, yep.
Yes, in Div 3. Clinging to 5th spot by half a game. Kicked 8 goals 18 yesterday at home to only get beaten by Scotch by 5 points.
Darren Mee would have been furious at that. Absolutely furious.
So clinging to 5th spot now.
Yeah, the run home with all these home games certainly hasn't helped. In Division 3, I had 6th place Pembroke taking on 2nd place Lockleys at Haslam Oval. Could be a very tricky oval to play, and the Kings, oh so close. 10 goals 4, great kicking in yesterday's conditions, just going down to the Demons, 9 goals 12, 66. It was 9 goals to 4 in the second half, so it was quite interesting there. But Pembroke couldn't quite squeeze into the 5 there. I'll lead off in Division 4, mate, because this was a big one again. It's one of those top team playoffs. It was third place Morphe's taking on first place Kilburn, but again, the pasty of Kellett Reserve, so a tricky one. And it was the Roos who got the chocolates. 14 goals, 8.92. The Chicks, 9.660. It was Nick Hankin, best on ground, and brother Dave, well, I assume he's his brother, Dave Hankin with 3 goals. Div 4?
Yeah, no, I mentioned that as well. Kilburn's second loss for the season at Morphe. And Jeps Cross getting a win to get them out of the relegation places on percentage as well.
Here come the Rams. They are Rams, Jeps Cross Rams, yeah. Beautifully done. What have you got for 5, mate? You're the expert, so okay. I bow to you, my friend.
Yeah, no, Marion, obviously one of the stories of the year, along with their other promoted team in Greenacres, both amazingly fighting for that third spot, equal at 8 and 4. They're in a tough block of games at the moment, Marion. Round 11 last week, they had a 1-goal loss to Mitcham, so a good effort. Yeah. They beat Trinity as expected yesterday. Crunch game is next week, which we talk about as well in the Div 5 report at home to Greenacres. And if that's not enough, the following week they go to Mortlock Park and they're up against Colonel Light Gardens. So we'll know a lot more about how they're going to finish, and if they can get through that and probably stay ahead of Greenacres, then it does open up for them with a couple of the lower place teams to finish off.
Good luck to another Rams. Of course, we've touched on it a little bit across the show, but it was first place Colonel Light Gardens, second place Mitcham at Mortlock. Colonel Light Gardens no longer undefeated in a dour affair, 5-6-36, going down to the Hawks 8-8-56. Nick Collins was the star for the Hawks. And another in Division 6, another top place team, Salisbury, taking on third place Ingle Farm, the Bulldoggies at Salisbury Oval. And it was the Magpies 11-9-75, the Bulldogs 3-8-26, proving why they are probably the best team in Division 6. Joe Williams and Brad Pryor were the standouts for the Pies.
Division 6, so 8 more goals to Sean Mansell yesterday, taking him to within a dozen of the magical 100 mark. And with Chris Snap kicking 2, that's put him 9 goals ahead of Chris Snap. Now, let's not forget, folks, that these two players play in the same team. So we got one of them on 88, the other one's on 79. And for the historians out there, you need to get onto the Facebook and the YouTube, and someone needs to come back to us to tell us the last time that 2 players in the same team kicked over 100 goals.
Lisa Wright, Jeff Hurd. I'm not sure who else. If you're out there, get us that stat, please. So, interesting one. Division 7, mate, what do you got?
Division 7, well, and I know you've had the theme talking about the top side, but I had about OSB now. Yep. Great story, OSB. One of the 2 new sides that came in about 3 years ago with Hackham. Pardon me. And after beating Para Hills away, they stay undefeated and look like they're in a good chance, obviously, to head up to Division 6. A quick thing, remember OSB about 3 years ago, Tony and I commentated a game there for Sir Doug Nichols' round. Yep. And they actually played Greenacres the time we were there, and we interviewed the Greenacres president at the time, and a thought that he said to me at that time, he said the hardest division to get out of is Division 7.
I mean, Sam Banford that said that.
Yes, and look, when they finally got out of there, Greenacres, what they've done has been fantastic, and OSB, good luck to them, and see if they can manage to do the same and dream about maybe going on a similar run in the next couple of years.
Can only hope. And I had the same game with second place Para Hills and top place OSB at the Paddocks. And again, the Lions keep doing things that are incredibly impressive. It was the Red Roos 7-12-54, 19 scoring shots. The Lions only had 14 scoring shots, but kicked 11-3 in yesterday's conditions to run out winners. It's amazing. Matty Hodge, he can play. He was best on ground, and Rigney always bobs up with a few. He had 3 yesterday. So just closing out what I did this week, Vince, of those 7 divisions, 5 of the top teams had massive games. They were challenged. Only 3 of those 5 got over the line. So things may not be as certain as we seem. Thanks for joining me, mate. It was quite an interesting look around all 7 divisions. We're back next week with more What Caught Our Eye. And welcome back to Between the Posts. It is time to have the final word and say goodbye. Of course, this segment is brought to us by our good friends at SAPOL. you can become a South Australian police officer. You can check that out on our page. Vince, my first question, the question I ask everyone is, have you had a bit of fun today?
Oh, it's always fantastic to pop in and give my 2 bobs worth and talk about my favourite division. So they're in Division 5, and I look forward to doing it probably right at the end of the year. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you will be back. I think you'll be back around finals time. Div 5, it is hotting up. It's exciting, and what we thought we knew, we may not know, and we knew the answers. They changed the questions. So who knows? Now, it is an interesting week this week, as we've mentioned throughout the show. But we are not broadcasting Division 1 games, so they're having a week off. What are we doing and what are we looking at, Vince?
It's highlight and spotlight on Breakthrough Mental Health Division 2 next week, and pick of the games, which I would think would be
your game of the round, please.
Game of the round, Max Amberfield sees the league leaders head to face the Raggies.
Yes, as I said, the best surface in Adelaide Footy League, I think, at the moment. Certainly, if there's a better one than what I saw last Tuesday, I'll go Eve. Now, I'm hearing from a lot of people, this is Ross Trevor's flag to lose. I've been talking about Salisbury North all year. Obviously, before the season, everyone said Goodwood. But you're tipping the Rocks, I assume?
Yeah, I think the Rocks in a very close game. It's always hard to win away from home against another fellow contender.
Well, I don't think we do zooming here, but straight down the barrel, I'm going to give you TJ's upset of the year. I think the Rocks will get done by Athelston, the Raggies. I think the Raggies are going to peak at the right time. Under coach Matty, I do my best work at night. He's got a very good top-end list, and I think they might just fire on that ground and they find a way. They'll be stinging from that loss to Goodwood, and I think they'll learn from it. And I think they'll take care of the Rocks.
Yes, and you're right, and I think we can watch all the Div 2 games next week, of course, on Filming Footy, Dartfish and Sports Interactive.
Yeah. Yes, Vince says all that and much, much more. It's all happening in the Adelaide Footy League. Where else would you want to be? What a great league. Thank you for all the work you do, my friend.
Let's go between the posts.
Make sure you join us in 2 weeks' time for more. Are you ready, mate? Between the posts.